Welcome to the CEO Launch Podcast.
We are a dynamic mother-daughter duo bringing you personality, insights, and practical advice from two different generations of entrepreneurship.
We aren't just mother and daughter. We are also best friends and business partners.
I've watched my mom help thousands of entrepreneurs start the businesses of their dreams, including me. And now it's your turn.
Welcome back, CEO Launch family, to episode number 26. Today, we are talking about relationships and how relationships are the new currency. And Kenya has a story again today. So take it away, Kenya.
Well, today's story is sponsored by elementary school. Shout out to Britt. But today's story goes way. Okay, so I usually talk about stuff that's a long time ago, but this feels really old. So it starts in 2005, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah. Starts in 2005. I'm not going to tell you my elementary school because I think that's a security question sometimes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good idea. Good idea.
You know, fraud examiner.
I hear you. Okay.
You know,
you listen.
So I went to elementary school. For my fifth grade year, we got a brand new teacher. So a lot of the fifth grade teachers had been at the elementary school for a second, but our teacher in particular had not only not taught at this school, she had not taught ever before. And so we had a lot of adventures with her. I think our first week, she ended up, passing out or something because of like a sodium deficiency and things like that. And that really set the precedent for how fifth grade was going to go because we all really ended up riding with each other. She was great. Like, she was an incredible educator. We all felt super connected to her. And I know me in particular, I just loved talking to her. You know, it was one of the few times ever, I want to say, where I had like a one-to-one relationship with my teacher, and we would have conversations outside of just school and just building like a meaningful relationship. So she and I used to have this time where we call it little birdie time. This was before Twitter and all of those things. And little birdie used to tweet, and we would just talk about different things that was going on in my life, in the classroom, just what I did at recess and things like that. And that was very special time for me. I think the only other time that I had a one-to-one relationship like that was second grade with my second grade teacher. And I used to stay after school with her. But with my fifth grade teacher, this was during class, you know, like we would be doing different activities, and she like created these spaces for us to relax and calm down and feel comfortable. And it was just such a great space. She introduced us to new games, and I loved being in that class. Like, when I think about school, I always go back to what that class made me feel like. And especially as an educator, I always think about how can I make people feel the way that I felt in the fifth grade. And so what is particularly special about my relationship with my fifth grade teacher, whose name I will not say again, because that is also another security question. People listen to your podcast and just be in your bank account. But we stayed in touch. So as I went on to middle school, every time they used to have, what were those nights called? Like open house or something like that. We would go to her open house and just say hi. I think for a couple years, and eventually social media blossomed. We found each other on social media and followed each other up until, not even up until, but even when I graduated from high school, she was at my high school graduation party. And to the point where I talked to her a couple months ago, you know, and that relationship is so special to me because, one, how many of us are in contact with our elementary school teacher? You know, some people, maybe high school, maybe even middle school, but your elementary school teacher, not super common. As we were talking about this episode and kind of prepping for this episode, just realizing that this has been a 15-year relationship that's not ended. You know, it's still kind of going. And I'm sure I'll send her a wedding invitation and show her pictures of my baby and all of those things as I hit those different milestones, because she definitely made like a huge impact in my life. And I also feel like I made one in hers too, you know, and even y'all, you know, her and my mom have their own individual relationships. So I think those types of relationships are the ones that just really show you how powerful it is to connect with people and how far that can take you in life.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Mrs. Redacted is you like that?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, she was awesome. She really was. And I think another thing about that 5th grade time is that was a very transitional time for you. And there were a lot of things going on, and it made me feel good that you were in a classroom with a teacher that I could share those transitional things that you were going through, and she was just there for you. And it's just been super cool to have her, show up at your graduation party and pop up in my DMs, and, and just the fact that you guys are still in contact. But it just goes back to one of the lessons that I've always tried to teach you as a parent is the importance of building real relationships. Like having a real relationship with people, it makes a difference. Some people are in the business of just collecting friends or collecting, just to say that they have this number of people who they know or knows them or whatever. But building true relationships with people it's a game changer. It really is.
Yeah, it does. It makes such a difference.
It does. And I think that it makes a difference in business. When you think about it from a business standpoint, so many people treat their business like it's a transaction. And if your business is transactional, then that means that you have to constantly hustle to get new transactions because you have not made a connection. You have not made an impact on that person's life enough so that they will want to continue to do business with you. And some businesses are transactional, and then there are other businesses where building those relationships is really important.
Yeah. And I think it's being genuine to me that always shows up. Like when I think about the people that I choose to do business with, it's that genuine, whether it's information or just connection or inquiry or what have you, that makes a difference of like, I'll pay an extra $50, $100, however much it is to work with somebody that's genuine versus somebody who's being opportunistic, and trying to go after the dollar. Like I know for me, I've been sourcing contractors, and a lot of contractors are kind of like, what's the job? I'll do the job and this is how it goes. And I'll kind of say like, I have this problem. This is my solution to this problem. What do you think about doing what my solution is? And they'll just be like, oh, I could do it it's always $1,000 plus. It always never, nobody ever wants to do contract work for like 50. I don't know what's up with that, but whatever. And I have recently been in contact with a contractor who I presented them with the issue that I was having in the house. And I was like, I feel like I could either do this or that. And the contractor was like, let me present you with a third option that will cost you $50, essentially. And was like, what if we did this? And that way you don't have to deal with that. And the other thing, we don't even have to think about whatsoever. That saves you time, that saves you money. And we don't even necessarily have to do it. You can just talk to the people that you were talking to before and that gets it done. But now I feel like I have a relationship with that person. You know, like you were looking out for me in a way that wasn't advantageous to you or your business. I appreciate that. It was an idea I never would have thought about. Because like I said, I don't do mechanical stuff. I don't do labor. Okay, that's just not who I am as a human being.
That's another topic for another day. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that for me in business, when I'm working with people, if I work with someone who comes up with a solution that is in my best interest versus someone who comes up with a solution that's in their best interest, that means a lot to me. And that's someone that I'm going to continue to work with, the person who's made the decision in my best interest or gave me a solution in my best interest. That's someone that I'm going to continue to work with, as well as someone who I will refer business to. And those are really key things in business,
Yeah.
I'm thankful that in the 19 years that I've been in business, I can honestly say that 85 to 90% of my new clients are referrals. And the reason that is the case is because I have spent a great amount of time building relationships with my clients, having a relationship with them. And providing them with, and I hope to be an amazing customer experience so that they'll, kind of tell other people about that. So that's something else that you have to think about as a business owner. Like, how are you connecting with the people that are doing business with you? Do they matter to you? Are you trying to get to know them? If you, in some industries you just can't. There are some industries where you really can't get to know the person, but if you can get to know them, are you making that effort?
Right. I think that's just super important for people, because a lot of times we think that numbers matter, right? You think that, I have to have 10,000 followers and I have to have 50,000 people on my email list and all of those things. But what can you actually bring to the table? I know for me, I've been doing a lot of sourcing. Like this last quarter of the year is just sourcing and figuring out who can do stuff that I don't really enjoy doing.
Well, you don't have the skill to do.
Yeah. And so I've been sourcing for a virtual assistant, and the person that I'm more inclined with working with has like 30 followers. I'm not kidding. Like, this isn't me being hyperbolic. This is like for real. I think she has like 30 followers on her business page. But the conversation that we had, getting to know her throughout the process and understanding how she can be an aid to my business, made such a bigger impression than the people with 1,000+ followers who were being superficial and weren't really talking about things that were important to me. And I know people are always like, your network is your net worth. And I 100% agree. I know, particularly as a Howard grad, like I say I went to Howard and I either find another alumni or somebody that knows that I'm legit because that's where I went to school, or, I say I went to Howard and somebody puts me on to this, that, and the third because they know somebody that did something, that went to Howard, that did all of that stuff,
Right.
But the thing that helps is when people are able to mention your name in rooms that you weren't even invited to.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. Let me tell you, to get that email or that call that says so-and-so told me about you, or so-and-so told me to give you a call, or so-and-so said that I should connect with you. Those are the things that really make a difference. And that, I think that's pretty awesome. And we've been talking a lot.
Yeah.
Hopefully what we're saying is resonating with you guys and helping you to get to the point where you recognize the importance of developing genuine relationships with people. And so we're going to talk about our takeaways. You ready?
Yeah.
So I want to say that networking is not about selling. It's about connecting. Right. So I'm an introvert. And so, truth be told, I don't like networking events. I probably like them now because I've been in the house all year. But truth be told, I don't like networking events because it's overstimulating and it's a lot. And one of the things that I dislike about networking events the most is people who don't know how to network or don't know how to connect. So they're just walking around trying to pass out business cards. I don't want your funky business card. Like, if I didn't ask you for your card, you shouldn't be giving it to me. And I don't give people my card unless they've asked for it. Because I don't want my card to end up in the trash. And two, when you look at that card, I want you to remember a conversation that you and I had. So when I go to a networking event, I'm going to meet 2 people. That's my goal. Yep. I'm meeting 2 people because I don't care if it's 100 people in the room. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to meet 50 of them or 20 of them because it's outside of who I am. And I just set a realistic goal when it comes to that stuff, right? So my goal, I'm going to meet 2 people and I'm going to have a meaningful conversation with 2 people. And when I leave, I know. And it may not be anything related to business, but I've made that connection with someone. So I'm gonna tell this quick story and then we're gonna move to the next takeaway. So when I was being honored as one of the women of influence in Atlanta in 2019, I was sitting at the table with this guy that worked at, I won't name the company, but he worked at one of the major hospitals here in Atlanta. He worked in supplier diversity. And so we sat next to each other, and during the ceremony, we had an opportunity to kind of talk and chat. And one of the things that he remembers is that, that I was a forensic accountant. So since that time, I've seen him at 3 other events. And every time he sees me, he says, "Hey," he don't say my name. He said, "I remember you. You the forensic accountant." And so he doesn't remember my name, but he remembers the fact that I was a forensic accountant. And that's because we had a conversation about it. It's not because he had my card, because if he had my card, he probably would remember my name. But It was more because we made a connection at that event, that one event, almost a year, over a year ago. And every time I've seen him since then, he says, "Hey, I remember you. You're the forensic accountant." So you want to make sure that when you're networking, that you're actually making connections.
And those connections are currency. That relationship is currency, because if ever that particular hospital needs somebody to investigate something with fraud and he's in the room, you are probably going to pop up. It's not a lot of people that do what you do. And so it's always cool to kind of know like who's in your basket that you can pull from to do those different things. And I think that's a number one takeaway. I mean, not number one, but that's our second takeaway on relationships are currency, and you have to treat them as such. Like a lot of times people think, "Oh, I had a conversation with such and such, but it didn't turn into anything," or "I interacted with somebody and I didn't get a sale afterwards." And it's not necessarily about that immediate sale. It's about, just having that genuine connection, and then it turns into something else. Like I have a quick story. I promise it'll be quick. But my first resume client ended up being my first contracted workforce training client because of the relationship that I had with her. And back then, that was when I was doing resumes for 2-digit numbers, and so I could have treated it as if like, "Oh, you only paying such and such for this resume, so I'm gonna just do it and hurry up." But I had a conversation with her. I got to know her. I got to understand like what she wanted to do and how she wanted to do it next. And then once I had all of those conversations, when she was thinking about, "Hey, we need somebody to do job training for our organization," I was the first one that popped in her head because of how I dealt with those things. And so I think that's super important. Like you need to make sure that you're treating everybody and actually getting to know people before you're just jumping and trying to get them to do business with you.
Yeah. And the last takeaway that I want to say is that sometimes you want to network in your own circles, like in the industries that you operate in. So I have an amazing group that I network with, a group of other professionals, tax professionals that we network with, and we all have the same business. But we help each other. Like, we help each other out. We share ideas. We share resources. And you know what? Even in that tax group, even with us having the same, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, same type of business, we've still been able to help each other. Like, and so I think that, again, it comes down to the relationships, because even if I know you have a group with resume writers, like there may be somebody in the group that does something that you don't do, or it's not really your forte, or you don't have the bandwidth, like, "Hey, I'm busy right now, I can't take this, but I know somebody else who can take this for you and they're going to do just as good a job." So I think that it's also important for you to understand that networking is about building relationships, not only with people who can potentially do business with you or send you business, but also people who are in the same industry as you, because you just never know how that will work out.
Yeah. 100%.
So we're a little bit longer today, but I hope you guys enjoyed this episode where we talked about relationships. It's a new currency, and we will see you next week.
Follow us on social media at The CEO Launch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to take off.
This is a Clear Word production.